The latest entry in STALKER Call of Pripyat takes us into a new atmosphere. It releases us into the wild with an AK, food and ammo, donned with a disguise, immediately and confidently getting rid of the early game grind. Our next task? Find, infiltrate Skadovsk, and overall, discover what happened to downed helicopters. New detectors were released in this game, which was nice. There were a ton of new areas, but everything just felt empty. Sure, the maps were big and wide, and had a lot to explore. Mods fixed the A-Life issue, and Misery was the first mod I played for Call of Pripyat. You can side with two different factions in this game, a factor I quite like. Your choice will directly determine what happens afterward, like the Sultan versus Beard choice left up to the player. That's another thing. They play around a little with faction relations here. Bandits can coexist with free stalkers. Isn't that interesting? We've certainly never seen that before. It'd be like if duty and freedom... Oh, yeah, that was a unique take. Discovering the messages of the duty leader, listening to them being stuck in that anomaly and slowly die. How captivating. Whoever you give these to will more than likely call you friend. You can help Strider and his squad reintegrate back into society after being monolithians. That's something we never saw before either. I will say, for this game, I don't think I've ever seen bigger anomaly fields. I may be wrong, but they felt much bigger to me. Then, you have Jupiter Underground. That was nerve-wracking, but having your own team that you personally put together helps things a little. Maybe. It really depends on you. A lot of people say this part really gives them a Metro vibe. Something never before seen in Call of Pripyat was a puzzle, which I personally loved. It was irritating at first, but something like this, the devs never really did before. The heart of the oasis, otherwise known as going through pillars in a weird combination until it lets you through. Much like the compass, this thing had a bunch of rumors around it, and was pretty rare. That's another thing, the compass. You can hold on to certain things in Call of Pripyat and decide what to do with them, who to give them to, that sort of thing. It's another sense of freedom for the player. With all the new maps, new guns, new people, new faction dynamics, it's such a shame to see this game reduced to helicopters LOL. Sure, I get it. It might not be the most enthralling story for the audience. It might not hook you as deep. Well, oh well, like it or not, this is the game we got. And believe it or not, it's really not that bad. This whole overarching plot we think about the entire time, what could have happened to all of these helis? And at the end it was revealed, along with Strelok. The helicopters get caught up in an anomaly field, because the military didn't account for the fact that anomalies can and will move, so their outdated maps were outdated, fatally. Then there's this big huge epic battle and extraction effort where you, Duguterov, are forced to make a choice. Go with them, end the game, or persist. Free play, basically. One thing I especially liked about Call of Pripyat is that it's readily apparent the choices you make matter, as evident the ending cutscenes make it. Noah, Yanov, Skadovsk, the ecologists even, Strider, Strelok. Almost everyone of consequence can be found to have either a good end or a bad end. What player doesn't want to help Strelok or Strider succeed? Now, the fate of Yanov, that's more of a personal dispute, with whatever way this person may lean. What I find refreshing is that we are not a blank slate with each new game. With each new game, we are someone new, with a new faction behind them. In Shadow of Chernobyl, we're a free stalker. In Clear Sky, we're a merc. In Call of Pripyat, the military. It's a good way to flesh out different areas, rather than just grind down the same old ones. If all three games were just set as loners, wouldn't that get old to you for a while? I'm not much to advocate for mods here, but I feel Misery did a pretty good job, at least when it comes to the early game struggle. GSC boldly daring to remove its part didn't sit right with me. I enjoyed the first few hours crawling up with literally nothing, whether or not buying one more mag might have saved you, having to hunt for food because you can't afford it, waiting for stalkers to die so you can snag a half-broken piece of junk to shoot. It doesn't feel as rewarding when it's just given to you. Still, I understand the setting, what we had to do, our character and all that. This is just my personal opinion. Some games and mods can really extend the hobo phase, which can do some damage depending on how you handle it. But it should be balanced. Out of the three, I would say COP focuses a lot on side characters, maybe more so than any of the others. I mean, settling Vano's debt, the whole thing with what was his name, Magpie, Uncle Yar, and these are just what's coming to mind right off the bat. I haven't even brought up Al yet. It's interesting to have two traders, one for guns and another for food, and it seems Al, in his own standoffish way, is another snitch. He'll pay you for info you receive and potentially share some with you. Beard doesn't do that. And who can forget Nimble, our humble survivor, appearing in all three games? He's a little out of the way here on the third floor of the ship, but you can order equipment from him. Isn't that cool? The entire Pripyat segment was fun too. Suddenly, you are blocked off. You're able to explore Jupiter and Zayton just fine. What's the big deal with Pripyat? Finally, we learn that no guides will take us. It's too dangerous, so we resolve to get closed circuit suits and gather a team to go through the tunnel underground. All or none might make it, after which you end up divulging your secret identity, to some team members' disdain.
Put your weapons on the ground, now!
Don't shoot! I'm Lieutenant Sokolov, co-pilot of Stingray 4. I'm on my way to B-28, the emergency position.
I have information for Kowalski. Take me to him.
You know Kowalski?
Who are you? What's your business with the commander?
I'm Major Dektyrev, USS. I'm here to investigate the failure of Operation Fairway.
USS? What the?
What a fun and unique, scary, but ultimately quite thrilling part. And we just arrived front and center. If this was SOC, your captors would have immediately executed you. Since this is COP, we make our way to the laundromat and find the army set up shop there. This is where our new FOB is for the rest of the game. We can explore Pripyat in a way never seen before, because Shadow of Chernobyl and Call of Pripyat have two very differing sections of it. It's a new, breathtaking rendition. Don't get me started on the soundtrack. Now, almost nothing can replace Muzi, but Call of Pripyat's music was damn good too. Day and night tracks separately, don't go out at night if you can't help it. When this shit would play and I was out for just a bit too long, you can bet your ass I'd run as fast as I could back to safety. This to me says danger, it says hide, run. A very potent, organic soundtrack. And as one commenter says, Zayton's Day sounds completely original, like there is money to be made here, and greed. I agree for the most part. Whether you die with that money down by the mercs, burn up in the plateau, or something else entirely, that's totally up to you. To circle back to the locations for a second, each of these three new areas had their own little iconic landmarks. You slowly explore through the map and note all of them, usually before moving on to the next spot. Hanging by Skadovsk or Subchenko and hardly going out was no longer the norm. It wasn't scary as much anymore when you wanted to go out. Now you knew what you could expect, what you had, what the game could potentially throw at you. In that ending reveal of Strelok, we had no idea what would appear. A huge mutant pseudo-giant, a bunch of monolith. This eerie signal is approaching, it's coming straight for us. What do we do? Only to juke us and be the beloved protagonist we all know and love. Back at it again, just like Nimble. It really is quite sad to see Call of Pripyat reduced to just helicopters, but that is the big plot, so I can't really complain much there. It was worth a playthrough, and it was worth a modded playthrough, in my opinion. But what do you think? Do you think it could have done better? Do you think it did just as good as it was supposed to? Or maybe worse? If there's any points I missed, glazed over, or neglected entirely, please, let me know.